Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Young Professionals podcast. And today I'm really excited that we're joined by Big Four accountancy firm KPMG. So I'm actually joined by three of their apprentices, Sophia, Ben and Fernando, and we're also joined by Dan from the student recruitment team. So I'm going to introduce my guests here today. So Sophia, we'll start with yourself. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm a Solicitor Apprentice at KPMG and I've been at the firm for 3 years now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, hi, my name's Dan. I work within the student recruitment team, specifically for our tax and technology roles, and I've been at the firm for about 2 years.
I'm Ben. I work in the FS banking sector, and I've been here for 3 years as well.
That's great, thank you. And finally, Fernando?
No, similar to Ben, I'm also in audit. So, my name is Fernando, and I've been at KPMG for 3 years now as well.
That's great. Well, look, thank you for joining the show and welcome. And I guess for everyone at home who's kind of watching this podcast today, we're going to be talking to you a little bit about who KPMG are. We're going to be interviewing some of their apprentices so you can kind of find out what is it like working in a Big Four firm. And then we're also going to be chatting to Dan a little bit about the recruitment process. So what can you be doing to prepare yourself to applications at KPMG? So, Sophia, thank you for joining the show. And you mentioned at the start you were a solicitor apprentice.
Yeah.
It'll be great to kind of hear a little bit more about your programme. I know that a lot of young people at home will be thinking KPMG, Big Four, accountancy, audit.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to hear that you're actually on a solicitor apprenticeship programme at KPMG.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm on a solicitor apprenticeship. It's a very new scheme. It's about 6 years old. So I feel very privileged to be able to be part of like the beginning processes of them developing what a solicitor apprenticeship actually is. So essentially, I'm working towards getting my solicitor qualification and alongside that also get a paralegal qualification. So essentially how it works in KPMG is that every year I will change teams. So I'm currently sitting in corporate law. I was in tax disputes before, and I've also been in the legal operations team. So it's really unique to be in a legal apprenticeship at the Big Four, especially because it's a very new thing. There's actually only 5 of us, and we're part of the first cohort ever to be in KPMG as a solicitor apprenticeship. So everything's very new, and I think they're learning on the go in terms of like what works, what doesn't work. So it's really nice to be part of that process. So yeah, you get so much experience, especially the course is the same as going to uni. It's 6 years, so it's not like I'm spending any longer. Yeah. If anything, I'm getting a bunch more experience in terms of I'm understanding how legal works, I'm understanding which type of department I want to be in the future. So it really gives me so much hands-on experience, and I'm growing in confidence so much. I can say it from the beginning to now, my confidence has completely changed, and the type of person I am has also completely changed. So yeah, I've been really lucky in my experience at KPMG, and everyone has been so nice, and it's been a lovely experience so far.
No, that's great, and it's really great to see how much you're enjoying the programme, and obviously being part of one of the first cohorts at KPMG on the solicitor apprenticeship programme. How has it felt knowing that you're one of the first apprentices within this kind of legal sector? Yeah,
no, it's been really nice. I think it's nice because we're all learning together, especially like with more senior people who are actually in control of the apprenticeship. It's nice because they ask us our opinions, they ask for feedback, they're always asking how can we improve things. So the fact that we're kind of creating this apprenticeship and what the standards are going to be for the cohorts to come, I think that's a really nice privilege to be able to have, especially I think in legal it's such a different thing compared to being in a traditional law firm. I was never after the traditional law firm experience. I think that kind of, I wanted to stay away from that, and I think I wanted a bit more of like a calmer environment to be in, and I think KPMG was just the perfect option for me. It was friendly, it was amazing in terms of the support that we got in the beginning of the student recruitment process. I've got to say it was great. So it just gave me a really good impression as to what I wanted to see in legal and the way I wanted to be treated. I think there's a lot of stereotypical ideas about what law can be like, and I think that can be scary for some people to go into. I think that was one of the things where I was like, I don't want to be, staying in office until 1 a.m. and sleeping, and I was hearing horror stories about sleeping, like offices having pods where people can sleep overnight and then start work again. So that was the one thing I was like, no, I'm okay. I didn't want to go down that route. So this just gave me a completely different vibe, and I think, yeah, so I've been really lucky so far.
No, that's really incredible to hear, and thank you for kind of sharing that. And I guess Ben and Fernando, it would be great to kind of hear about your experience as obviously auditors within KPMG. Can you tell us a little bit about your programme, maybe some of the cases you've been working on, something maybe exciting you've done to date?
I don't mind going first. So my main section is FS banking, like I said. So that's all of the major banks around the world. The easiest way that I like to summarize audit is saying that we are money detectives. So we need to take a look at the company's financial statements. We need to analyze each line and make sure that the numbers they've stated are correct. To do that, there are several things that we do. We often inspect invoices or bank statements. They're the two most common things that we would look at just to make sure that the numbers are tying up. We have to query all the amounts, where stuff's not balancing up, why is it not balancing up, when's it going to balance up. And something to date that I've done that's interesting. I recently worked on a banking entity with a very strict deadline. There are a few clients I've worked on that have had deadlines movable, but this was an immovable one. And we managed to get to the end of the audit without any issues. And once the audit was complete, we have a major person called EQCR. He does all the quality control checks. He's been known as a man very difficult to please. And once the audit was complete, my manager came back to me and he said that the work that we'd done on a particular section was outstanding. So I was really proud to have been involved in that team that created that quality piece of work.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really incredible. And I guess joining KPMG not so long ago, what was it like being thrown straight into the deep end to kind of work on some of these major kind of projects?
It was terrifying because where I come from, I'm a really small village out in the sticks. So going to the big city is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say about KPMG is they do not leave anyone in the dust. Anyone that's a brand new employee, they treat with the utmost respect and they really care for you. There is no one that's left behind. They ensure that you understand what you're doing. If they don't, they make time for you, even in tight deadlines. I think it's absolutely amazing the work that people do and the way that we're developed through college and through working is fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's really great to hear, and it's so great to hear that you've been involved with so many different fantastic projects since you've been on the programme. I guess, Fernando, yourself, it would be great to kind of hear about your experiences so far within the audit sector.
No, of course. I mean, personally, I know Sophia. Me and Sophia are like really good mates. Like, I always tell her like how much I actually truly love like audit and like KPMG, and yeah, I mean, the best way I always put it to people is I feel like at KPMG you will get, it's very dependent on the individual. So I think however much you put in is going to be dependent on how much you're going to get out of the apprenticeship. So I think if you go in it with such a like a positive mindset and say, okay, I'm going to do this is my work. I'm going to put 100% of myself into this. And I don't know, you're inquisitive or like you ask questions, right? I feel like you really are going to start to enjoy audit because you're going to start to understand it. I think that's the worst part when you don't understand something. That's when like maybe working a couple of late hours in the office, you're like, okay, I'm working a couple of late hours, but I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, once you truly start to understand, and it's natural throughout months, years, whatever. So yeah, I mean, personally, I'm really enjoying audit, and yeah, there's so many things even outside of audit that you can do at KPMG, like today being one example. For example, like there's a couple little things that you can do even outside of that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think Ben said
hey, look, that's really great. And one question that I want to kind of ask to all of you is, why did you choose to do an apprenticeship? A lot of young people who are watching the podcast today will be thinking about, do I go off to university? Do I do an apprenticeship? I guess, what was kind of like the key things why you guys decided to join the KPMG?
I think linking back to what Fernando said about the individual, I think it is so individualistic. I think it depends on the type of person you are and what you're after. I think there is a stereotypical idea about the uni experience and what you gain for the uni experience. And I think sometimes people can be misled by that. I think you have to weigh up the positives and the negatives in terms of, are you someone that wants to be put in the working environment at such a young age? I think it's a very daunting thing at 18 to go straight from sixth form into the work environment. And some people are not ready for that and some people are. So I think it really truly depends on what you feel like is best for you and weighing up the options. For example, one thing I was so keen on was getting that hands-on experience. And also, I didn't want to be in a position where I have a law degree, but I have no idea about what law is. And I have no idea about what department I was in or what type of law I wanted to qualify into. And I think that is such a key thing. And through my apprenticeship, I've been in corporate law, I've been in tax disputes, I've been in legal transformations. And through these different seats, I can be like, this one was for me, this one wasn't for me. And it gives me that opportunity to grow my understanding about law. And I think as much as you can say, okay, yeah, I have a law degree, but do you have an understanding of what it is like to work in an everyday environment? And I think for me, that was the thing that just was like, that is exactly what I want. So that was the reason I chose to do an apprenticeship. And I think it's a good thing to consider if you are going into the legal sector.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Sophia, in terms of joining such a big firm at a young age. You get thrown into some really exciting kind of areas of KPMG within the legal sector.
Yeah,
and you kind of, get to experience a little bit of everything and kind of then hone in on what you really kind of enjoy doing on the programme. But to yourself, Ben and Fernando, why did you guys choose to do an apprenticeship?
I was sort of driven into it from a young age. My granddad knew a lot of his friends that worked in accounting companies, and from a young age I just had a knack with numbers, and it kind of just added up and made sense. So I actually did work experience at KPMG when I was 16, so it actually wasn't as daunting when you go at 18 because I'd actually been in the office before and done that. Another reason to the debt and the experience of university. Some people also find that uni life daunting. You're kind of having to fend for yourself and always having a lot of money. Whereas now I've got no debt, I'm earning, I would say, a good wage, and I'm learning on the job. And I don't regret any decisions I've made. I still get to, funny enough, next week I'm going up to my mate's university in Nottingham, so I don't miss out on the experience.
Yeah.
But, I just feel like I'm in a better place than a lot of my uni mates.
Yeah, no, and I think, it's important to note that doing an apprenticeship, the employer pays for that. So the same qualification that you're getting at KPMG will be a very similar qualification that someone at university might be getting, getting an accounting degree or an accounting qualification, but they're paying for it and you guys are getting it for free, which is all wrapped into your apprenticeship program.
Yeah, the way I saw it was, so I just finished year 13 and I told myself, how do I see my life within the next 5 years, right? And that's the thing, I think apprenticeships, it will be dishonest for me to say they're going to be for everyone, because I think it's going to be very dependent on what every person wants. Because at the end of the day, there might be there are some careers that are maybe very niche, and maybe there isn't an apprenticeship for that yet. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah. So for me, I knew I wanted to do something in finance. Yeah. So I was like, okay, how could my life look 5 years down the line if I choose to pursue a career in finance, right? University, 3 years, finish my degree, and then I'm like a qualified accountant. No, I still have to do the ACA, the CIMA, whichever one. Yeah. The actual level 7 qualification. So I'm still not quite a qualified accountant, and then I'll have some debt as well, and then I'll have to actually pay for the qualification for the level 7, and of course I also need some. Let's say even after the 2 years, after 5 years I'm not qualified, how will I get a job? You know what I mean? I'm gonna be in the Shark Tank trying to fight all the sharks, trying to get a job. But whereas with apprenticeship, you get that security where you land a job at 18, you get work experience, like on your CV, boom, Big 4 work experience already. You start earning a salary, and all the other benefits, which is of course you start earning a salary, no debt, experience. So for me, it was like a no-brainer.
And at the end of it as well, you're guaranteed a job. So once you're qualified, they confirm that you'll stay on. You've got that job security, so as long as you put the effort in for the 5 years, you're in a position few people can touch, really.
Yeah, I think also another thing is like that security that you was talking about. I think that at the end of the day, the competition is crazy now in terms of the professions that we're in, and to be able to have that leverage in the sense that we've got our foot in the door already. And when we was being interviewed on the basis of our character, on our personality traits, the type of people we are, and I think that can translate to the type of work you are, in my opinion. I think in the sense that if you go to uni, you're kind of being judged on your degree and what qualification you've got. And for me, I was like, I think in terms of my interviewing, I can rely on myself, my determination and my drive to kind of show that I want to do this and I will be good in the working environment. So that was another key thing I took into consideration, that what am I being judged on now versus what am I going to be judged on after I leave from uni? I didn't want to rely on the fact that, potentially after uni, I might not even, I might do a law degree in a university I hate and be put off law. Whereas now I'm in my apprenticeship and I am on a straight route to becoming a solicitor. There is no training contract for me to apply to. There is no experience I need to get. It's
all wrapped into the qualification
exactly,
that you're doing, which is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I think just talking about interviews, I'm going to bring in Dan into the conversation here. So it'd be great to kind of maybe talk a little bit about the recruitment process, and we'll kind of come back to you guys in terms of how you went through the process and maybe some top tips and tricks. But Dan, it would be great if you could give us like a full rundown for the students at home that will be watching this. What is the Big Four recruitment process like, maybe step by step, in particular for KPMG?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I can only speak for KPMG, obviously. I mean, I think there are a lot of similarities and crossovers in the way that firms like KPMG and, you know, our sort of competitors out there in the industry, be that Big Four in professional services or banks, etc., will do things, and the processes involved, and that's purely to do with the volume that they deal with. So I think there is some sort of advice in there for other firms also, but strictly speaking for KPMG, there are 4 distinct stages. So the first is really figuring out what you want to be doing. So whether that's in audit or tax and law, whether it be in any other areas, so deal advisory, consulting, technology and engineering, or KPMG Business Services, you need to do that research and decide what you want to be doing first and foremost. You register for that opportunity, which is a sort of similar opportunity to apply for a university degree, I suppose. We're going to ask you what your work experience is, what you've done at GCSE, what you've done at A-levels, etc. There's no personal statement, but you need to sort of apply for an opportunity. And then the next 2 stages are online assessments. So transforming small businesses and delivering outcomes are essentially online, sort of cognitive reasoning type, scenario-based testing. You know, and these guys would have been through them, so they can give some more detail about that, what it's like, sort of how you prepare for those sorts of things. But essentially what we're asking you in those assessments is we're putting you in scenarios that you will find yourself in within the business, and we are asking how you would respond to it. You're either going to have to sort of select checkboxes, I feel this way, sliding scales, you might have to record yourself saying what it is you would do in that scenario, and we're essentially assessing your values versus our values. So yeah, recognize what our values are. KPMG has corporate values, you know, for better integrity. I should probably have to recite them, but I can't, I'm sorry. But yeah, we have corporate values and you need to acknowledge those in those types of responses. So yeah, ideally you make it through all of that and then you get to Launchpad. Launchpad is what we refer to as an assessment center. At an assessment center, you are essentially this is where you are being assessed for the role. This is where it really counts, I'd say. And there are 2 distinct parts of an assessment center. You are going to be put in a group discussion environment where yourself and 3 other candidates will, sort of not dissimilar to this, be sat around a table. There'll be 2 assessors watching you, and again, you're going to be given a scenario. You need to work through it. You need to give the assessors, you need to show to them that you are capable of not only producing great business ideas, but work in a team. And then you do an interview. You might also do a presentation as a part of that interview, depending on the role that you've applied for. I think in terms of advice for Launchpad, recognize the way that the firm is assessing you. So like Sophia was saying, we are not expecting a candidate to come to us with knowledge of the law or how to be a solicitor. We use a strength-based recruitment system, which hopefully speaks to any experience that a candidate already has. And you can draw those strengths from your own experiences, be that at school, in your personal life, extracurricular activities. These KPMG strengths, there are 11 of them, are listed on our website. They're sent to candidates before a Launchpad. It's not a secret, they're out there. You can research into them. You can think about ways that you can demonstrate them. That's an important part of Launchpad, is demonstrating the KPMG strengths. And then, you do your Launchpad. 2 days later, you know whether you have an offer or not. So that is, in essence, the KPMG recruitment process.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Dan. And I think it's really important for young people when they are coming in to apply for roles, such as roles at KPMG, to kind of understand what to expect on the recruitment process, because I know for many young people, this might be one of the first jobs they've ever applied to. So I think it's really great to kind of explain what the process looks like. But I guess I'll come back to you guys and maybe go back 3 years ago when you were back in year 13 and you were applying for these sort of roles
Scary
and jobs.
times.
Like, what kind of top tips can you give young people to prepare for? I know that you mentioned, Ben, that you had some work experience already prior at KPMG, but what sort of advice could you give the young people watching here to kind of ace that recruitment process?
I would say one thing for me was patience. I think I got so overwhelmed with the whole process. I mean, for me, it was a very it was a time where I was very stressed out. I actually didn't receive my offer from KPMG until after results day. So that was after I had got my A-levels. And I think it was because my apprenticeship was so new, and I think the interviewing process was slightly different in terms of, I'm not too sure whether I was like right at the bottom of the list, but I remember that
You'll never know.
you never know, you never know, because I genuinely thought I didn't actually get their apprenticeship, and it was after results day, and I was like, oh my God, I have nothing. And I had a whole plan A, plan B, plan C, and everything was going down the drain, honestly. And then I got a call from KPMG, and they said, oh, we'd like to invite you for a final interview. And it was like the biggest sigh of relief, because I was like, I have nothing to lose now. I have nothing to lose. It was that patience I needed to take me to that point where it was like, now it's like I just have to show them like who I am, and that's the most I can do. The only thing you can do is be yourself and not stress about trying to be someone who you're not, because that's where I felt like I was failing before. I was pretending to be someone I thought that they wanted to see. And at that final interview, I was like, I'm just gonna be myself. And I was literally like joking around with the interviewer, and the person who interviewed me is actually the partner in my current team. And yeah, it was just a really nice interview, and it felt more like a conversation. So I would say that is my tip, to be patient and to truly be yourself, whether that's joking, like, you know, obviously to a certain extent, but, you know, to really show who you are as a person. So yeah, that would be my top tips.
That's really great, and I think patience is really key, because I think in a world where everyone wants things instantly.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
it's not like, doesn't work like that.
It's not always like that in these sort of recruitment processes. So, you know, I think patience is a really great tip for everyone. But I guess Ben and Fernando.
Yeah.
I would say just practice interview skills, because some people are born with gift of the gab, as I like to refer to it. Some people aren't. If you're not, the key thing you can do is just practice interview skills, be comfortable. I actually, funny enough, did a young professionals interview skills course, and it was so in-depth as to the key things to say, key things to do, how to act, even a way to present yourself on camera. Again, slightly different because ours were online rather than in person.
COVID.
But it just means that you've got to be more well-spoken and more well-presented, because they can't see the way you sit, whether you have your shoulders up, slumping, whatever. As well as interview skills, I think patience is probably the key one. Mine took about 6 months to come through. I applied in September, and I had other offers fly past, got accepted for some, rejected for some, but I held out for KPMG because of my previous work experience as well, and I got it, was absolutely chuffed to the bits. I think. Yeah.
No, that's really great to hear, and thanks for the plug to YP. I'm glad we were able to help you in some sort of way prepare for an interview. So thanks, Ben. I guess Fernando, yourself.
Yeah, no, funny enough, I just remembered that our interviews were online. I remember now. I remember I was so relaxed because, of course, because we were at home. I think I was wearing like a suit. No, so I was wearing a shirt and a tie at the top, and at the bottom I think I was just wearing like some joggers, because like it was a camera.
I still remember mine as well, because it was online. I had a blurry background, and I was almost finished. It was my mum, my sister standing at the top of the stairs, just having a look down to see what was going on, because I just have to keep holding my finger up to say wait. But a lot easier.
But I think for me, the best advice is just to research the company. At the end of the day, like Dan said, all the answers are already there. Like KPMG are going to tell you the people that they want at their firm, because it's their firm, right? So in their website, the values are there. So 100% research the values and make sure you align yourself with those values. If that's what the company, if that's what they're saying, this is who we are, then you have to ask yourself, okay, who am I, and how can I prove to them that I align with who they are, right? So I think you have to look at the website, and also show that you're an active citizen in your community. so I tell a lot of people that your grades, millions of people can get like level 9s, A stars, A's, whatever. And the good thing I like about KPMG is that I think I was an average student, right? So I think I was getting like B's, so like your average grades. But I think what they looked into a lot was what I was doing outside of school. So I was volunteering, doing a bunch of different things like outside of school, sports, clubs, and even little things like, for example, what are your hobbies? Like I told them I read books. And then I remember the interview asked me about, I think maybe to see if I was lying or not, she asked me about one of the podcasts that I listened to. It was about like a crypto queen, like some stuff. But yeah, definitely just be an active citizen, like be an active person, just have a lot of stuff that you can talk about. And yeah, I guess,
Be interesting.
Just be interested. Just be
Yeah,
interested.
that's really great, and I guess I know I know that you've been on here for a while now, and I really appreciate your time joining us today. But I do just have a couple more questions that I want to ask. So going back to your first day at a Big Four firm. So I know that a lot of young people who will join obviously such a prestigious company like KPMG, they might be a little bit nervous. But can you take us back to that very first day you stepped through the doors and kind of day one on the job? How did it feel?
I think it was super surreal. I don't even think I believed that I was there myself, like that it was reality. But I remember my first day in office, we do these things like called Connect Live, and it's kind of like a broadcast where they kind of talk about everything that's going on in KPMG, and like all of the employees watch it. And it was on Teams, and we went in to be part of the audience, and that was my first day, and I'll always remember it. And we kind of like used it as a day to kind of like watch what was going on, and it was so surreal. Like it was genuinely, it was a great day. I'll always remember it. But yeah, it was just great. It was good.
Ours was, I don't know if it was just slightly the same. We had to wait about a month to go into the office. Yeah. So we had a week of induction online, then we had a college for about a week and a half and audit foundations. And then the first day we went into office was an induction day where they just stuck us in a room and just quizzed us for the day, just gave us a rundown of exactly what was going to happen. But the one thing I do remember with Canary Wharf particularly is you come home with neck pain because you just constantly find yourself just looking up. But it was just unbelievable. Yeah. Like going from where I was from to all of the amazing stuff that you do. Like we have a lot of like social events to network and stuff, but Canary Wharf is just stunning. Like it's a different world out there, and it's such a privilege to work in an amazing place.
You know what it was for me? I think for me, the first actual day like I stepped into work, so because of course we had inductions, but the actual first day of work, it was so weird because I felt like imposter syndrome to the max. I was like, I do not belong here at all. Like I had the correct clothes on, whatever, everything, but I was like, I don't know anything. Like I you know, and then I thought, oh, these guys are so knowledgeable, and I felt out of place at first. That's how I felt my first day, and I think it's because you always hear the names of big companies, right? You always hear KPMG or whatever other company, right? But then once you're actually in the building, I think you separate the person with the company, right? And once you actually enter the building, you realize, oh right, okay, so these are the people, and then you have a conversation with them. You're like, oh right, they're just like the friends I have at school. Like they're humans, you know what I mean? So when I stepped into the building, and I was on my first team, and I started talking to people, that really reduced the stress, and eased me into work. And then just slowly but surely, the socials help as well.
Oh, they're so much fun.
I think with that, I think it instills to a lot of young people watching this is that you do still have a great social life.
Oh yeah,
doing the apprenticeship, because I think a lot of people think they go to uni, they have a great social life, but actually doing an apprenticeship. I mean, there must be hundreds of you all joining at the same time.
You know what it is? I actually never actually get that when people say, "Oh, at university you can do so much." When you start earning money, you have money to do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like we can do so many more things than like uni students would.
Holidays.
Holidays.
Yeah. I've just booked a all-inclusive trip to Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
But like, if I was at uni, I'd probably be going to like Bournemouth for a little weekend. Like, it's just amazing.
Yeah, no disrespect to Bournemouth, but
of course, loads of lovely stuff down there. But
once you start earning like a salary, definitely do you have the chance to do a bunch of stuff, and also the stuff that KPMG also provides. A lot of it, almost everything, all of it is free. There's a bunch of social, like there's a huge social side to working as well.
No, that's great. And I guess finally, Dan, as the recruiter here on the panel today, what are your top 3 tips for students back at home who might be considering putting in an application to KPMG?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, first of all, it's as like the guys have already talked about. I think it's doing your research into the business, and it's career motivation plays such a large part of the application process. Really being clear on why you want to do what you're applying to, and why you want to work for KPMG is key. So yeah, do your research, understand what KPMG is, understand your options within the firm, you know, the social side of it. Really understand KPMG. I think patience is a great one. Understanding that the recruitment process can take quite a long time, and not to get too demoralised if you've not heard from us in a couple of months. You know, internally we are always considering candidates, trying to move them forward, you know, but it can take some time. So yeah, patience is a really great one. But then also recognising and understanding how we assess you is a big one, I think. And as a potential apprentice, you don't have to have the experience of the area you are going into. If you have the first thing that I've talked about, if you have that career motivation, that will make up for a lack of work experience.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure none of these guys really will have had any real experience of what you do now, and that doesn't matter. You know, an apprenticeship is, and I don't mean any disrespect in this term, is an entry-level position in the firm. The expected level of information and knowledge is quite low. So, you know, have that career motivation, don't be intimidated by the opportunity, and also just apply early as well.
Yeah.
That would be another real key piece of information. I think you could be, the best candidate in the world, but if you wait too long, unfortunately, those opportunities aren't there. So roles typically open in September time. I would, you know, want to be one of those first people applying.
Yeah, no, that's really, really great advice. And look, thank you to all of you who have joined us on the podcast today. It's been a really, really kind of great discussion. I've learned a lot myself, but ultimately I hope that everyone at home who's kind of been watching this podcast today has got a little bit more of an insight to KPMG and ultimately how they could maybe be some of your colleagues one day in the future. So thanks a lot for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure.
Thank you.